So the last time I tried to record this video, there was like a ton of like feedback because I was trying to show off like some guitar effects in Logic. So hopefully that doesn't happen this time. This is an intro video to navigating Logic. This is not for those of you who know Logic, who are familiar with it. It's for those of you who either like started to learn it over the summer or are just starting out in this class. It's to kind of catch you up so that you at least know what it looks like, what different things do. I'm going to try to cover everything, so even if there's something that I reference earlier in the video, by the end of the video, I will have explained it. So don't worry if you're watching and you're like, what's that? What are you doing? Like, it'll come back around. So this basic view has 5 different options to open a track. And software instrument is going to be a basic synth track where you can bring in different instruments, you know, a piano, keys, guitar, bass, and then like synth sounds. It's going to be all of that, and we're going to open that in a little bit. First, I want to show you audio. This is just going to be a basic audio track. So vocals, guitar, bass, it'll bring up just an empty track for you to start working with. Drummer we'll go into. It's a virtual drum track. So it opens to Kyle. He's a rock drummer. It's pretty basic. You can change his complexity down here. There's like loudness, volume. And then you can also change like the presets of the beat. So it kind of brings in different. See, this stuff over here is changing as you do that. So, drummer's a great tool. It's not what I would use as the only drum in my track. It's nice when you're just starting a track and you're not sure where you want to go with the drums and you're just looking for ideas. Or if, you know, you need something extra added on when you already have a drum track and you're like, it's missing something, look in drummer. I've done that a couple times with tracks where I'm just like, I need some oomph in like the final chorus or something. So this is a great tool. And it's still pretty new. It didn't used to come with Logic. And like I was saying in class the other day, there are some new drummer presets, like a Latin kit. So you can do more like Latin urban music type sounds that are popular. So it's changed a little bit. They added hip hop and R&B after. Originally it just came with like rock presets, which was kind of dumb, but now it has drum machine presets as well. So the others are going to be external MIDI. Don't worry about it. I've never used this. What you would use it with is if you have a keyboard, like an external keyboard that has sounds built into it and you wanted to use those in Logic, you would use this. And then guitar or bass I will go into. This is where I got tripped up before. You see how it does the effects on my voice? I went into distorted guitar and it freaked out on me the last time I tried recording this video. So this is different from the basic audio track because it has effects already. So you don't have to like mess around looking for a guitar effect. You can kind of just like plug in your guitar, open this, look around. It has some like experimental stuff, so this is going to be a backwards one. Yeah, weird. Or there's this cool echo. It's kind of like foreign. Anyway, so that's another one that's good when you're first starting out and it's not too important once you know what you're doing. But again, it's a good tool. So we're going to go into a basic software instrument track. It's going to open to classic electric piano every time you open it. And if you don't have a keyboard plugged in, a MIDI keyboard, it'll open to this musical typing thing. It always does this mute thing with me. I'm not sure why. But I'm just going to explain what these different areas of the window are. And so first I'm going to talk about the arrange window, which is this area. I'm going to close out of these so that we can focus on it. This is where your instruments, all of your tracks are going to be housed. and it'll show you what you have recorded for each track, measure by measure. So this is where you'll see the arrangement of your song. That's why it's called the arrange view, but you can kind of pick out, like, say your intro is 4 measures, and then your verse is 8 over here. This would be like your verse section. So this is like what you'll mainly be working in, and this is how you kind of move tracks around and add things to your song. Like, you can add a duplicate track, or you can add a new track. Let's say we want an audio track, a drummer track. So now we have a couple different things working. Kyle's back in our arrange view, so I'm gonna X out of a couple of these, just go back to that. This is like your toolbar at the top, so I'm just gonna talk about a couple of the things I use. Some of these we can talk about more, but basically you have loops here, which have everything from this guitar to an organ or a beat. It's kind of cool. Anyway, loops are fun. I do use them, but not a ton. Again, everything in Logic is just a tool. So however much you need to use it. It's there. But a lot of it is just, when it's necessary, you bring it in. This is going to be your metronome. Right now we're at 110 BPM. Shows right here. This is where you'll see where you're at. So it has the bar number and then the beat number, and as well as the time signature and the key signature. Key signature, if you change it, it can help you kind of keep track of your song, and it changes the loops a little bit, so you can kind of still use these pitched ones. Not the ones that are audio, the blue ones, but you can change the green ones, because that's just MIDI data. So keeping going along here, you have cycle, which is this golden color thing. All it does is just loop a measure, or however long it is. So this, when it gets to the end, will loop back. This is really nice when you're writing and you have a verse structure, and then you don't have to keep going back. You can just kind of like keep experimenting, writing your verse as you're listening. It's also good if you're making tweaks and you just need to listen to a section over and over again to change the effects on it. So I do use cycle a decent amount. This is going to be your record button. It's also down here, and you can use the R button on your keyboard to bring that in. I'm going to be referencing different keyboard shortcuts as we go. Not too much in this video because I don't want to confuse you, but just for the record button, I don't press the record button up here. I press it on my keyboard. As well, play and stop you can do with your space bar. This is go back to the beginning. You can also change this. So you can go to last locate position. A lot of these you can change. See, you can do play from selected region, play from cycle. And then the stuff over here, you can bring up the controls on it. This will just change the basic instrument. You're not actually adding any effects onto the track. You're kind of editing it within the instrument. And you'll kind of see what I mean in just a second. Mixer view is going to have every track in here. So you see, I only have one track in my arrange view, but in my mixer, I have a couple reverb tracks, which just add space. And I'll explain those a little bit more in just a sec. As well as a stereo out and a master. So stereo out is where you'll find your bounce button, which is what you'll use when you're exporting audio out of Logic. So we'll get more to that in the future. But we're about to go to the inspector, which is where you'll find your channel strip, which has a lot of what we were just looking at in mixer view. So your channel strip is everything that makes up
one of the tracks in a range view. So here you can see it has room so that you can create EQ, which is what I'm going to talk about in the next video more. It has the basic instrument, so this is what popped up when you kind of hit this button right here. And then the buses are what we were looking at in mixer view that are like reverb. If I open here, see it muted again. I don't know why it does that. But anyway, if you do this, here it's pretty dry. Well, if I turn this way up, there's a reverb, and then if I turn this one up, they'll be farther away. See, it sounds like it's in a big room. Those are separate buses, they're called, and it's basically a separate channel strip that just has a specific effect on it. So instead of using reverb in the channel strip for one instrument, which you can do right here, you can add one reverb preset to a couple different tracks. That saves you a lot of time to create different reverb. It glues your song together because you're using a couple different reverb presets for your whole track instead of trying to create a new reverb for each instrument. It helps bring it all together because it sounds like it's in the same space. And as well, it saves a lot of processing power, which if you're using a MacBook and not a Mac desktop, that means a lot because I'm always trying to save processing power on my computer, especially when I have a ton of tracks going. With a lot of audio and a lot of plugins, it starts freezing on me. And then I have to start mixing things down to try and get it back to a point where I can keep working. So this is your channel strip. It also has like pan information, volume information, and then solo, mute. And that's also contained over here. So I'll talk about it. Pan is just left and right. So in the stereo mix, where it is located. Volume, obviously, is just how loud the track is. And then you have your armed record. This isn't actually the record button. Like, it won't start recording. But when you hit R, whatever track has the R button lit up, that's what track will record. And then it also has solo, which if you add more instruments, you can see solo mutes the other instruments in your track for as long as you have the solo activated. It's so that you can hear one track, one specific instrument while you're working in like a larger project. And then mute if you just want to turn it off, but you don't want to delete it. And then finally, we're going to talk about library. This is really important when you're first starting to work in a track because you can change the instruments over here. You can change it to a piano or a marimba, ton of different things in here. You can also access this data in Inspector if you go right here. I know where a lot of this stuff is located just because I've been working in Logic for a long time. You won't when you first start out, but a lot of every single instrument that you saw here is contained in one of these software instruments. So ES2 has a lot of the different synths, like the pads and the strings. Retro synth has like more 80s type stuff. Ultrabeat has drums, and then Alchemy's super powerful, and it's their new synth instrument, which has a ton of different presets that aren't loading at the moment, but would normally. So that's the basics of navigating around Logic, and you'll become more comfortable with it as you keep working with the program.